Good morning, you're watching AnewZ. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the top stories. A powerful blast hits a chemical plant in eastern China. Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov accuses Europe of sabotaging Trump's efforts to mediate the Ukraine war. The UN warns of a challenging situation in Sudan. An explosion at a Chinese chemical plant in the eastern province of Shandong has claimed 5 lives, injured 19 and left 6 others missing. The blast happened just before midday on Tuesday and sent thick smoke into the sky and scattered glass over a kilometre, according to local reports. The plant, established in 2019, produces chemicals for pesticides and pharmaceuticals and employs more than 300 people. Local authorities continue investigating the cause of the explosion. US Defence Secretary Pete Hegseth welcomed Poland's Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Defence Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz to the Pentagon on Tuesday. Poland's commitment to NATO spending was praised, highlighting closer military cooperation amid Europe's security concerns.
At the Pentagon, Secretary of Defence Pete Hegseth greeted his Polish counterpart Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz with an honour cordon before their talks on Tuesday. This marks the second meeting between the two countries' top defence officials in 3 months. Hegseth once again called Poland a model ally, commending Warsaw's dedication to spending 5% of its GDP on defence.
The relationship between the United States and Poland is rock solid. Both countries demonstrate peace through strength. President Trump also sends his regards and appreciation for all Polish leadership and the Polish people do. A model ally for the United States there on the eastern flank of NATO, and we're going to be encouraging 5%. We don't have to encourage Poland. You are almost there already, leading the way on investment in Europe's largest land army, modernizing that force, and the defense industrial base, which is critically important, not just obviously here in the United States, but in Europe as well.
But clearly,
the comments followed NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte's expectation that members will agree to a 5% defence spending target at next month's Hague summit. He also thanked Kosiniak-Kamysz for hosting US troops in Poland. Approximately 10,000 US soldiers are currently stationed in Poland as part of a rotational presence, primarily under the European Deterrence Initiative.
Also, and finally, thank you for your great support.
Meanwhile, Kosiniak-Kamysz said that Europe must take a larger responsibility for its own defence.
Security challenges have become more serious, complex, and interconnected than ever before. That's why we fully support President Donald Trump's administration's efforts to achieve a just and lasting peace in Ukraine. We are sure, and our broad defense cooperation is the best proof that the United States of America remains the guarantor of global stability and development. I'm also certain that it was necessary to send Europe a strong message, a strong signal for burden sharing within NATO, recognizing that Europe must take greater responsibility for its own defense.
The two countries plan to expand cooperation from arms purchases to joint military production, with US investors soon visiting Poland to explore opportunities. They also confirmed the first 8 Apache helicopters from a $10 billion US contract are scheduled to arrive in Poland on the 16th of June. Hegseth also stressed Warsaw's role in advancing the European Union's security action for Europe. This initiative allows 35% of joint defence procurements to be made with allies outside Europe, benefiting both Poland and the US.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov says Moscow is ready to resume peace talks with Ukraine once both sides exchange written proposals. Lavrov made the remarks after meeting Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan. Fidan, during a 2-day visit to Moscow, also met President Vladimir Putin to discuss developments after recent direct talks between Russia and Ukraine in Istanbul. Both ministers reaffirmed support for a negotiated end to the war.
President Trump is a person who wants a result. And when he sees that his efforts to promote the settlement as they agreed with the Russian President Putin, including the meeting in Istanbul, including the accord to exchange memorandums between Russia and Ukraine, which will contain not just baseless demands as a smokescreen for continuation of aggressive anti-Russian policy, but the specific components for solution of the issue aimed at elimination of the root causes. And when Trump sees that a small group of the European representatives starts to sabotage his efforts, pushing Ukraine toward absolutely reckless actions like drone attacks on Moscow and other our cities, and attacks on the helicopter of the Russian president, of course he may reveal certain emotions.
The European Union has approved the creation of a €150 billion arms fund amid growing fears of a possible Russian attack on the region and doubts over Washington's security commitments to the continent. The measure was backed by 26 of the EU's 27 member countries, with Hungary abstaining.
The European Commission has given the green light for a monetary loan scheme to member states for collaborative defence projects. The Security Action for Europe scheme, known as SAFE, was first proposed in March, as concerns deepened that the US, under President Donald Trump, might not come to Europe's defence if needed. This scheme is designed to strengthen the EU defence industry, with an emphasis on cross-border projects and buying European supplies and arms. The measure was backed by 26 of the EU's 27 countries, with Hungary abstaining. Since Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022, EU countries have already increased defence spending by more than 30%. But leaders say it's still not enough. Moscow has criticised the initiative as fueling war, based on what it calls an invented threat. But many in Europe note that Russia made similar claims before launching its assault on Ukraine. The SAFE Fund signals a new era in European defence, one that is united, armed, and prepared for a future without guarantees.
The situation in Sudan is rapidly deteriorating. According to the latest statement from the United Nations, the ongoing armed conflict, mass displacement and the spread of infectious disease are deepening the humanitarian crisis in the country. UN officials are calling for urgent international intervention.
The humanitarian crisis in Sudan is deepening day by day. United Nations spokesperson Stefan Dujarric said at a press briefing in New York that ongoing armed clashes, mass displacement of people, and the rapid spread of diseases are further worsening the situation in the country.
North Darfur State artillery shelling continues to impact residential areas of El Fasher in the Abu Shuk camp for internally displaced people. Local sources report daily civilian casualties, and recent days have seen an intensification of bombardments at night.
The situation in South Kordofan is no different. Recent fighting has forced nearly 2,800 people, mostly women and children, to flee from the town of Dibabad. These displaced individuals are now scattered across the Al-Quaz area and other parts of West Kordofan, living in extremely difficult conditions. Their access to basic necessities, such as shelter, medical care and protection, is severely limited.
The situation in the state capital, Kadugli, has also been very seriously deteriorating in recent weeks, with intense shelling and humanitarian access largely cut off. In northern state, authorities report that about 6,000 people who fled from North Darfur, Khartoum, and West Kordofan due to insecurity arrived in Daba in northern state between the 12th and 22nd of May. Meanwhile, a cholera outbreak in Khartoum state is worsening at an alarming rate, we're told. Our humanitarian partners in the state report an 80% increase in suspected cases over the past 2 weeks, bringing the total number of cases to more than 8,500.
Dujarric noted that with the approaching rainy season, the United Nations and its partners have pre-positioned 30,000 tons of aid supplies in warehouses located in Janina, Nyala, and Tawila. These supplies are intended to support humanitarian operations across the Kordofan and Darfur regions. Meanwhile, aid deliveries to West and Central Darfur will be facilitated through cross-border corridors from Chad. However, the crisis in Sudan is not limited to physical insecurity. There is also a growing education emergency. According to the UN, 250,000 children in North Darfur alone, 250,000, have lost access to schooling. Across the country, millions of children are currently unable to attend school. The UN urges the international community to provide more flexible, timely and large-scale financial support for the humanitarian response. It also emphasized the urgent need for unhindered access along all necessary routes so that aid workers can reach people in need without obstruction.
Khartoum International Airport, once a symbol of Sudan's turmoil, is now on the path to recovery. After being seized by rebel forces in April 2023, the airport remained under their control until the Sudanese armed forces reclaimed it in March this year. Our Anastasia Lavrina has more.
Hello, today AnewZ is here at Khartoum International Airport in the Republic of Sudan. Previously, operational airport was shut down in April 2023 when the war started between the rebels and the official government forces. So this is the exact place from where the war started in April 2023 when the airport was attacked by missiles and the rebels. Within the next couple of years, the airport was controlled by the rebels, but it wasn't used. You can see around a lot of destroyed planes. You can imagine how people were planning to travel somewhere that day, but their plans were destroyed. According to the official statement of the government of Sudan, the Khartoum city now is completely liberated of the rebels and already started the reconstruction work here at the airport. It seems that within the next 1 or 2 months, this international airport will become functional again to make sure the former IDPs who are coming back to this city have a proper connection to the world. Anastasia Lavrina, especially for AnewZ from Khartoum International Airport, Republic of Sudan.
Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev met with Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif in Lachin for talks on regional peace, reconstruction and efforts strengthening bilateral ties. Sharif reaffirmed Pakistan's unwavering support for Azerbaijan, praising the rapid reconstruction and development in Lachin, calling the region a future hub for tourism. The meeting also covered expanded cooperation in trade, education, science and technology, and comes ahead of tomorrow's trilateral summit with Turkey. Earlier, our Andy Mioch discussed the significance of the Lachin Trilateral Summit and the message sent by the leaders of Turkey and Pakistan by joining the Azerbaijani president. He spoke with Nargiz Mammadova of the STEM Analytical Center in Baku, who shared her insights on the importance of the event and its implications for the region.
It's a very essential topic for not only for Azerbaijan, but also for a region. There are so many signals that this trilateral meeting and trilateral cooperation, which is going to be the outcomes of it, we're going to see tomorrow with the arrival of the president of Turkey, Erdogan. And the first thing that we need to observe and we need to notice and clarify here that the Lachin airport is a very essential airport for Azerbaijan for the logistical and transportation system of not only for Karabakh but for all the region of the South Caucasus, and it's just the beginning of the new pages of mutual cooperation, trilateral cooperation between Azerbaijan, Turkey and Pakistan. As well as it's very interesting that if we're talking about the signals to the other world countries, it's first of all saying that both countries see Karabakh as a potential area of cooperation, and I think that the level and the number of the mutual projects will be more and more, and the opening of the Lachin corridor, as well as the giving international we will call and now call the Lachin International Airport as an international airport. So it means that it will bring more ideas, people, economical integration, transport integration, energy projects in Karabakh. And the second one, which is very, very crucial for this topic and in this matter, is to think that the Turkey is a connecting point between Europe and between Europe, Caucasus, and further region. And also, while Azerbaijan is the bridge between South Caucasus and Central Asia towards China, however, Pakistan is a very strategic point. It's a very paramount strategic point in the Asia, and also towards like in the navigations towards India, China, and etc. So it's meaning that we bring all the continents together by the opening of the Lachin corridor. I think this is the main message that we deliver to the world.
With changes on the horizon in the South Caucasus region, recent remarks by the Russian diplomacy chief in Yerevan have opened room for debate on Kremlin's role and approach to the region.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov has drawn attention with comments made in Yerevan, where he appeared to acknowledge that Armenian forces used Russian-supplied weapons to occupy Azerbaijani territories for years.
Yet Russian weapons were used to occupy these 7 undisputed Azerbaijani districts and to build fortifications and combat lines, clearly indicating a long-term intention to hold these territories. Some analysts even noted that the nature of the fortifications suggested there was never any plan to return these areas to Azerbaijan.
The remarks, though carefully framed, mark a rare moment of public recognition by a top Russian official of Armenia's military actions in the 1990s, and the role of Russian equipment in those operations. Analysts say the comments reflect a deeper historical pattern in Russia's approach to the South Caucasus, with Armenia often playing a strategic role in Moscow's broader regional goals. Episodes such as the 19th century resettlement of Armenians into the South Caucasus, the violence and forced displacement of the early 20th century, and Russia's involvement in the First Karabakh War are frequently cited by critics as evidence of that long-standing posture. One of the most controversial chapters remains the role of the Russian 366th Motorized Infantry Regiment during the 1992 Khojaly massacre. Lavrov's acknowledgement that Russian weapons were used to occupy Azerbaijani territory has strengthened the view that Armenia may have acted, at times, as a tool in Russia's regional strategy. Russian media outlets like Izvestia used to refer to Karabakh as Artsakh, and continue frame Armenia's security through its alliance with Moscow, diverging from international consensus. But Russia's traditional approach may be losing ground. Since 2018, Armenia's political shifts under Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan have challenged old alliances. Moscow's continued support for figures tied to previous administrations, including Robert Kocharyan and Serge Sargsyan, has been met with criticism from Armenian civil society. The Kremlin's appointment of Sergei Kiriyenko as its point man on Armenian affairs, along with renewed contact with the so-called Karabakh clan, has done little to reassure those hoping for change. Pashinyan's recent comment that there will be no new war between Armenia and Azerbaijan was seen by many as a signal to resist outside pressure and move past the cycles of conflict that have long shaped the region. Observers argue that Russia's focus on political pressure and controlled escalation no longer aligns with the region's aspirations. Calls for sovereignty, peace, and development are growing louder, while Moscow's reliance on outdated tactics may be losing its hold.
The fall of empires creates windows of possibility and peril. In the shadow of the Russian Empire's collapse, the South Caucasus briefly reimagined its future through bold experiments in independence. This is the story of how fragile dreams laid the groundwork for lasting nations.
In the final decades of the Russian Empire, the South Caucasus was home to a mosaic of nationalities: Armenians, Georgians, and Azerbaijanis, each with distinct identities but living under centralized Russian control. the 1917 Russian Revolution shattered that control, unleashing a power vacuum and a scramble for self-determination. As the Bolsheviks seized power in the north and the Ottoman Empire advanced from the west, the South Caucasus became a geopolitical crossroads, torn between collapsing empires, foreign invasions, and rising internal tensions. After the collapse of the Russian Empire, a short-lived attempt to unify the South Caucasus emerged. The Transcaucasian Democratic Federative Republic, declared in April 1918. But fundamental differences between Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan in national goals, foreign policy, and positions toward the Ottomans and Bolsheviks led to its rapid collapse. By May, the federation dissolved, with Georgia the first to withdraw. Influential Georgian political and intellectual groups did not acknowledge Soviet power, which was established in Russia after the revolution of 1917. In Georgia, the path to independence began with a national convention in Tbilisi in November 1917. The National Council of Georgia was elected, and on 26 May 1918, the Democratic Republic of Georgia was proclaimed. Led by the Menshevik Noé Ramishvili, Georgia quickly built democratic institutions. The 1919 elections brought a multi-party parliament with protections for minorities, women's rights, and even the abolition of the death penalty in its first constitution, adopted on 21st February 1921. But just 4 days later, under cannon fire, the Red Army invaded, and on 25th February, Georgia was annexed by Soviet forces. The Azerbaijan Democratic Republic was declared just 2 days after Georgia, on 28 May 1918, in Tbilisi, because Baku was under Soviet control at the time. The city was governed by Sovnarkom, the highest executive authority of the Soviet republics. This was followed by the brief rule of the Central Caspian dictatorship that replaced the Baku Commune after the July coup of 1918. Meanwhile, the Azerbaijani National Council, led by Mamad Amin Rasulzadeh of the Musavat Party, governed from Ganja. On 15 September 1918, Ottoman and Azerbaijani forces entered Baku in the decisive Battle of Baku, liberating the city and restoring it as the capital. Azerbaijan went on to become the first secular parliamentary republic in the Muslim East. The republic lasted only 23 months, until 28 April 1920, when Red Army entered Baku, and Azerbaijan was incorporated into the Soviet Union. Armenia also declared independence on 28 May 1918. Led by the Armenian Revolutionary Federation, known as Dashnaks, the First Republic of Armenia emerged in the midst of war, famine, and displacement. The Batum Treaty in June 1918 forced Armenia to cede 20,000 square kilometers to the Ottomans. Aram Manoukian, widely regarded as the founding father of the Republic, played a vital role in repelling Ottoman advances and stabilizing the state under extreme conditions. But without unity or strong defenses, Armenia became vulnerable to outside threats. By December 1920, it fell to the Bolsheviks and became the Armenian Soviet Socialist Republic. Despite lasting barely 2 years, the first South Caucasus republics laid enduring foundations. They established currencies, universities, and constitutions, promoted native languages, and supported the development of theatre, literature, and music. Yerevan State University was founded in 1919. In Azerbaijan, Baku State University opened the same year. Young Republic of Azerbaijan granted women full voting rights, ahead of many Western nations. In Georgia, women entered parliament and helped draft the first constitution. Armenian banknotes, printed in Armenian, Russian, and French, symbolized sovereignty. At the Paris Peace Conference, South Caucasus leaders sought international recognition. US President Woodrow Wilson acknowledged their aspirations, though global powers prioritized stability over new borders. "We do not want to divide the world into small pieces," Wilson told the Azerbaijani delegation. Yet for the peoples of the South Caucasus, unity proved impossible. Still, their brief independence shaped national identities, launched institutions, and created symbols that re-emerged after 1991, when these nations finally reclaimed the independence first imagined in 1918.
Kazakhstan is looking to learn from China's experience in nuclear and water environmental safety. This was a major topic during talks about Kazakhstan's first nuclear power plant. Our Fariza Kalimruzina has the details.
Kazakhstan expressed interest in studying China's experience in ensuring nuclear and water environmental safety at all stages of the project implementation. The chairman of the Atomic Energy Agency of Kazakhstan met with the Deputy Minister of Ecology of China and head of the National Nuclear Safety Administration. The parties discussed prospects for cooperation in the nuclear energy sector, particularly the country's first nuclear power plant project, the development of the nuclear fuel cycle and the strengthening of the scientific and technical base. Currently, preparations for construction are actively underway. A short list of potential technology suppliers has been formed, which includes 4 international corporations: China's CNNC with its reactor, Russia's Rosatom, South Korea's KCNP, and France EDF. The first Kazakh nuclear power plant with a capacity of 2.4 gigawatts is planned to be built in Almaty region. New power transmission lines will be required to connect the plant to the power grid. The project may be financed through export credits and loans from international financial organizations. The decision on the choice of the partner company is expected before the end of the first half of the year. Initially, this was planned for the end of 2022, but the dates have been postponed several times. The final decision was delayed until after the Republican referendum held in October 2024. More than 71% of Kazakhstanis supported the construction of the nuclear power plant. According to the preliminary estimates by Li Diyong, Deputy Chief Representatives of the Chinese National Nuclear Corporation, the cost of one 1.2 gigawatt power unit may amount to about $2.73 billion. Accordingly, if the construction is entrusted to China's CNNC, the total cost of the 2-unit station will reach approximately $5.47 billion. The project is expected to take about 5 years to complete, with the nuclear power plant scheduled to be commissioned in 2035. Fariza Kalimruzina, AnewZ, in Almaty, Kazakhstan.
Georgian authorities have apprehended Georgy Bachiashvili, a former aide to billionaire and ex-Prime Minister Bidzina Ivanishvili. Bachiashvili, who fled the country earlier this year, was detained near the southern border with Armenia and Azerbaijan. He had been sentenced in absentia to 11 years in prison for allegedly misappropriating over $800 million in cryptocurrency from Ivanishvili's investment fund. Bachiashvili denies the charges, claiming they are politically motivated on account of his support for Ukraine. Afghanistan is stepping up its diplomatic efforts with 2 delegations dispatched to China and Russia, trying to boost trade and security ties across Asia. Our Tamim Bahis has more.
Afghanistan is expanding its regional diplomatic outreach, seeking stronger economic and security ties across Asia. In a notable move, the country's acting foreign minister Amir Khan Muttaqi delivered a speech at the 20th Western China International Fair in Chengdu, signaling Kabul's intent to integrate more deeply into regional trade and investment frameworks. Speaking at the opening ceremony of the fair, Minister Muttaqi highlighted Afghanistan's strategic potential, pointing to its untapped natural resources, a youthful population, and key location at the crossroads of Central and South Asia. He said these elements position Afghanistan as a future hub for transit and regional trade. Muttaqi assured international investors that Afghanistan has a secure environment for commerce and that foreign businesses can now operate in Afghanistan with confidence. He also called China a strong economic partner, underscoring its important role in Afghanistan's agriculture, technology and infrastructure development. Meanwhile, in another diplomatic first, Russian media have reported that officials from Kabul will participate in the 13th international meeting of high representatives responsible for security issues, set to take place in Moscow. The conference, taking place from May 27th to 29th, brings together representatives from various regional and international organizations to discuss pressing security issues. With both economic and security engagements on the rise, Afghanistan's leaders are signaling a broader effort to step onto the regional stage, even as the country continues to face international scrutiny over domestic governance and human rights. This is Tamim Bahiz in Kabul for AnewZ.
From the tragedy in Liverpool to the French Open and the highly anticipated European Conference League final, our Nick Summerby brings us all the latest updates from the world of sport.
Unfortunately, the news we have to bring you is away from football. A 53-year-old man has been arrested in Liverpool. We saw over the last couple of days the horrific scenes of what was supposed to be a celebration of winning the title with Liverpool. Up to 1 million fans had arrived into Liverpool Centre, and we know what happened after that. So ever since that, the man has been arrested. And our thoughts and everyone's thoughts really are with Liverpool, because it was about a special occasion with families, with kids, with elder ones, and it turned out to be so sour. So they're moving forward with that, and knowing what people are like in Liverpool, they will brush themselves down and they will be stronger for it. So it was awful to see, but it's not a nice way to start this little section off, though. So I'll move you away. Anything which we do find out about it, I'm sure we'll be right across it with our main news station. But I'll take you through the sport. Obviously, the football is coming to an end with the French Open. Jack Draper, who is really doing well from England, he came through his first game to make the second round for the first time in his career. Really looks a star of the future. Cam Norrie as well, another Brit. I know it seems a bit strange with me saying it because I'm from England, but at the moment we must have some good tennis players coming through. He came through as well, his game. Djokovic, you know, this time of the year, well, not this time of the year, it is, you know, with Wimbledon just around the corner, you know what he's really excelling. And he put a message on his Instagram, straight down to business, Djokovic, so keep your eye on him. So this has started, this goes on for a couple of weeks. We will keep right on top of this for you and give you the latest scores, and as we move forward to obviously the quarterfinals, semi-finals, etc. Right after that, we are talk really of news around football. Ronaldo's contract finishes with Al Nassr. Is he going to stay? We know. The thing with Ronaldo is how long is he's going to keep on playing, you know. And all of a sudden he's put a message again on his Instagram. Seems to be a lot of that at the moment. It says this chapter is over. Now, what everyone is thinking and looking at is the World Club Cup is coming. He will be available, or can be available, to play in it. So, could you imagine if he teamed up with Messi? Could that happen? He could be going for any team, and it seems to be the end for Al Nassr. But he said it's not over. He said the chapter is over. The story all will be written. So Ronaldo, knowing him, the huge megastar what he is, watch this space, because it looks like we might be seeing him in the World Club Cup. Away from that, Cunha, the Wolves striker, who has been absolutely superb in what looked like a relegation battle. Is all of a sudden, he ended up turning it all around by scoring the important goals to keep them in the league, and they did it comfortably as well. He looks like he's on the move. He's having a medical at the moment to Manchester United, around the early 60 million mark. So they do need a striker. Højlund has been leading the line at United, and goal scoring has been the main issue. Not just goal scoring, but the whole team. So Amorim is starting his work off for next season. As he said at the end of the season, when he got on his microphone, it's not been good enough. You've got to stick with us, and we're going to come through it. So this looks like it could be the first signing. Wirtz as well to Liverpool, the Leverkusen striker. Manchester City came in. I think they were talking about around about 120 million mark. Manchester City pulled away. Liverpool are showing interest. Liverpool are looking to do business early. You know, even when the manager has come in, he's not bought any players in. So now he's going to do his business and expect them to be strong next season. Another one as well, Antonio Conte, who won with Napoli, a successful manager. What a job he's done there at Napoli. There is rumour that he is leaving. One of the hierarchy at the club has put another message out, because everything obviously goes through messages at the moment. He said, thank you very much, Conte, and we wish you all the best for your future. So very strange that brought success, and then all of a sudden looks like he's going. So it's not actually nailed on, but we'll tell you if that news is true. Also, huge game tonight as well. Real Betis are playing Chelsea in the Conference League final. Chelsea, got to say, I watched them in their last performance against Forest to get in the Champions League. They're in the Champions League next season. I thought it was a mature performance. It was so much to play. Both teams needed to win to get into the Champions League, and they got the job done. So I expect them to get the job done against Real Betis. Let's not forget Anthony plays for Real Betis, on loan from Manchester United. He's been writing and saying how difficult it was for when he was at Manchester United, how he felt depressed, how he felt he wanted to give the game in. He was speaking to his brother, and his brother said, you know, it's going to change for you. There's going to be a ray of light for you. Well, it's turned round at the moment with him going on loan to Real Betis. It's a different level of a football club than Manchester United, but his performances are starting to show. Whether he's going to go back and play at Manchester United, we don't know, but expect him to try and prove a point tonight. But you get the feeling that Chelsea, under Maresca, you get that feeling it's started to turn around, and it's ended up being an exciting end of the season if they can get a trophy with that, and all of a sudden now they're going to be in the Champions League. It looks like Chelsea are on the way back. Any other news, I'll be right across it. I'll be back to you in a couple of days and giving you the latest news. Look forward to your company.
These are the updates for the hour. Keep watching AnewZ for more world news throughout the day.